Hey everyone, we're glad to have you with us. For those of you that look at our channel every week, we really appreciate you. Please subscribe to our channel, spread the word. We're talking about some really good stuff here. And for those of you that are new, welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Saturday, Nadeem.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. Hey, I want to talk about something that you have touched on quite a bit. And it looks like it might be coming to fruition sooner than later. So in the news, the government, the president has come up with a new cybersecurity plan. And he's looking to crack down on what he termed as insecure software. Now, we've known there's been a huge issue, phishing, blah, 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 that's been going on. And now it looks like there might be, some government intervention in that.
Yeah, so first of all, we kind of have been talking about this, that government intervention is coming. You can't avoid it. It's going to happen sooner or later because there's a lot of bad things happening, and a lot of companies are not paying attention to security, right? So that's one thing. The president's office just talked about software companies, right? They haven't even touched on MSPs and IT services companies.
Right.
There's been quite a few breaches that have happened because of, that type of service. So yeah, software is one thing, but then the service providers are another thing. And then, tie that all together. We've been kind of going down this road for a while. And what we've done, like especially like 2023, our goal was, Q1, get our SOC 2 audit done, and then every year get an audit done, which is called a type 2. The reason why we want to do this is there's a couple of good reasons to do this, but the main thing that why we're doing this is to make sure that when we say that we are following these practices and policies, there's a third party that's coming in and confirming that we are following these policies and practices and procedures.
Yeah.
And we like a lot of MSPs, they get caught in, they'll pay some local audit firm a few $1,000s to get their, SOC 2 audit done, right? That's not what we want to do. We want to do it the right way. In other words, we don't want that rubber stamp. We want to actually confirm that our processes, policies, and controls are the right ones and that we follow them on a routine cadence. And that's the problem that happens with a lot of companies out there is they will start down the path of compliance, and then, it starts slowly, right? So they have all these policies that they're supposed to do on a cadence, some on, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. What happens is, like on the quarterly stuff, sometimes, you get busy and you're like, well, it's just one quarter. Let me just, skip this one time. And there is no such thing as skip this one time, right? Once it starts, it starts.
Snowballs.
So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're doing these practices on a cadence so that you don't fall out of practice, because when that happens, that's when issues happen, right? And in a situation where you're trying to get your SOC 2 Type 2 audit done, you have to do this on a cadence, because if you skip one time and that falls into that audit period, you're up a creek without a paddle, right? Keep in mind, these new practices that are being put into place, these new checks and balances that are being put in place, right now, it is not being forced on MSPs or IT services companies. It is going to down the line. I mean, we can all just see that happening down the line, because like in one of our published articles, we talk about how IT is not a regulated industry. And that's true. Anybody can wake up one day and decide to be an IT company, right? And the thing is, these policies are going to come down, because once you have a good baseline, every company then is at that same baseline level. There's always going to be some companies who strive to do better, but then at a minimum, it's that ocean rises, all the boats in the ocean rise with it, right? So I think that's just a matter of time. What the now this is at the federal level, right? Every state already has their own laws and policies. So and I'm thinking it's going to be more and more both at the local and at the federal level that some of these things are going to be start to be enforced because there's a lot of issues happening. There's a lot of breaches. I mean, there's it's been exponential growth, and there doesn't seem to be like anything is helping. This one story I think I mentioned in one of our calls was this lady in IT. She applied for a job. Her resume got stolen by the bad guys, and these bad guys, they were very good IT people. I mean, not good in a legal / ethical sense, but good in a skill set. So their skill set was very high. So they actually got a job using this lady's resume in another country, and they were using AI-based avatar to actually hold conference calls. There was no person that looked like this lady, so they actually had a digital avatar created to be able to hold conference calls in real time. I mean, this was amazing. I mean, just think of the how much good they could have done if they just put that thought on on the ethical side of things, right?
Right.
I mean, they could have invented a whole new industry already, right? But these guys they have a lot of investment, they have a lot of financial backing. They they're getting better because not only do they have the skill set in IT, but they have the skill set in psychology, human behavior, and that's why these are good hackers. A lot of hacking is not just how good you are at a technical level. It's about how good you are at manipulating humans, and these guys are really good. It's almost like if they set their eyes on you, you're gonna get hacked. I mean, these are professional people. You are gonna get hacked. The thing is, how well are you prepared to come out on the other side?
Yeah.
And that's what this whole focus is on, is to be better prepared. We're not trying to stop or block that hurricane. We're just trying to be better prepared for it. We know it's going to happen, and we know we can't stop it. How can we be best prepared so we can minimize the damage? That's what all of us are trying to do. And I think, the government stepping in, doing something, because a lot of the specifically software development companies really got caught with their pants down.
Quite a few.
I mean, and especially in the MSP software development space, like pretty much every major tools developer has been breached already.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only a handful of companies, right? They've all been breached already. So you can't go out and say, oh, I'm using so-and-so company and they've never been breached. No, they've all been breached. So,
but,
yeah.
But,
it's,
but the one thing that, we've talked about, as far as what you did, and, and I love this because it really adds to who we are as a world-class MSP, is that, you were talking about getting your talk to your audit. You didn't go and find some, how can I say this respectfully, some Joe Schmo that, hey, yeah, I can do all of that for you for, whatever. You went and found the top of the top and say, hey, we want to do this right. And, while it could be a little bit of an expense, the way you looked at it, and I think about this a lot, because I think about how when I call, CEOs, and they're so fixated on price as opposed to the value of what's being brought. I really want you to talk about that, because it's a bane for me, because I just don't think in this landscape you can just look at, okay, well, we're only paying this much, and think that you're going to get the best quality, you know?
Yeah, and that's a good point because at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do if your overall budget is very low.
Yeah.
And the first part of the question is, CEOs base their decision on the cost. Humans by nature, if they cannot find any other way to compare something, they'll revert back to the cost.
Yeah.
So the reason that CEOs are looking just at the cost is because they don't know any better. They don't know how to compare, like audit firm A is better than audit firm B. They don't know. Now we were, kind of, and don't get me wrong, auditing and it's not a low cost option. I mean, for a small company like us, it's quite a lot of money. But when we think about it, I could have gone with some, down the street CPA, local only, and got that rubber stamp. Hey, okay, you're approved, right? At the end of the day, we're doing business with companies all around the world, and if a company comes back and says, okay, well, we want to see your SOC 2 report, which by the way, if an MSP or another provider, a sub provider, whatever have you, vendor says that they are SOC 2 audited, then you should ask for their report because every SOC 2 report has some exceptions, and that's what you want to look at. You want to see those exceptions. So when somebody asks us for our SOC 2 report and it's a name that nobody recognizes and it's only one office in, let's say, some weird town down in Texas, that's not going to carry the same weight as an audit firm that is worldwide, that has a worldwide presence. And we need to have somebody with that worldwide presence just because we're doing business in so many different places, and we can't have just the local guys do the audit and on top of everything else just rubber stamp it, and then when these guys are doing business and one of their vendors asks them for their report, it's like, oh, this is worthless, let's just flush it down the toilet because hey, and a good example is, one of my peers actually came up to me and told me how much he paid for his SOC 2 audit. And I was amazed. I mean, it was less than half of what we are paying. So, I'm not going to put any numbers on there, but it was less than half of what we are paying. And he got it done, I think, in like a month or something like that. Actually, in a matter of a few weeks, it was even less than a month. So that kind of got me thinking, like, what kind of a SOC 2 audited is this that can be done in a few weeks? That's not possible because, I mean, just if you're going through all your processes and controls, especially if you are an MSP, there's a lot of processes and controls that are in place that an audit, I mean, just 2 weeks, there's just not enough time. If you had a dedicated person for that, in 2 weeks, it cannot be done. I mean, our audit, we have a whole team of people, and it's still going to take us 3 months to get there with a whole team of people at the audit firm that's going through all of our stuff. So when you are looking for compliance, who you choose as your auditor matters. Don't go by, oh, this guy can do it for this much and he's cheaper, so I'm just going to use this guy. At the end of the day, you're going to look for that SOC 2 report. Your vendors, your customers are going to look for that SOC 2 report. And when they see some CPA firm's name on there that they don't recognize, or it's just, some small firm that the name really doesn't carry much value, much weight, it's not going to fly.
Yeah.
And that's the other side of things that is going to happen farther, which is farther into the future. So first, there's going to be intervention from the government to get that baseline up where, there are some stricter policies in place for IT companies, whether it's software development or MSPs. Right behind that is going to be somewhat of a crackdown on some firms who are handing out these audit reports. It's basically like wholesale audit reports. I don't know how do you want to put it, but they're really low cost, and they're not doing a good job. They're basically rubber stamping it. And that's going to be the next crackdown, is going to be against these companies who are just rubber stamping them, because they're really now impacting every industry out there who interacts with one of their customers, because those, there's still a lot of companies out there who don't know to ask a company for their SOC 2 report. Like, and this is not just small companies. I mean, I'm not going to name any names, but some of the larger companies, so we are a big Microsoft partner, and we do a lot of business with Microsoft. Now, anybody who's doing business with Microsoft, you can download Microsoft's compliance reports. It's public information. There's no issues. But yet, some of our vendors require us to sign an NDA before they will give us their SOC 2 report. Why? Because there's things out there they don't want getting public. So that's, so these, it gets more and more complicated the deeper you look into it. But if you are needing to get compliance, I would say find the right partner. Don't go by whatever is costing you less. That's the failback option humans revert to when they don't know the proper criteria, the proper way to measure something. They fall back to, how much is it going to cost me? I'll just go with the cheapest, right? And that's not what you want to do. There are places like, some things you can just go by the price. It's not a huge issue because it's not such a critical thing. If it breaks, you get another, big deal. But IT is not one of those things. IT is critical, because when things break in IT, the entire company gets impacted by that.
Yeah.
I mean, business halts. It's that bad. I mean, I've heard of people saying, "Oh no, IT is really not that big of a deal. We can do everything manually if we needed to. So if our system breaks, yeah, no big deal. We'll go manually." But it's only when they have to go to a manual process, those are the people who scream the loudest. I can't believe this is not working right, and blah, 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 because we can't function like this. Because people get used to their processes and their procedure, and it's not easy to revert back to something else. So with that, I think we've kind of talked a little bit about, maybe hopefully given everybody a better idea of how the compliance landscape is working, where the shifts are. Right now, it's a crackdown on software companies. I think the services companies are coming next, and then eventually on the last, the ending side of things is going to be the compliance companies, the auditors. That's where the crackdown is going to be, because I know there are companies out there handing out these audit reports when they shouldn't be, because these companies are really not compliant, but yet they're ending up with an audit report, and that's just wrong. And we as an MSP don't want a report like that. We want to have a world-class auditor come in, check our processors, check our controls, make sure we're doing things right. Not just that, but make recommendations. Hey, this is not the right way to do it. You got to do it this way. You got to, write down your reports this way. You want to do it at this cadence. Hey, this report, you can do it on an annual basis, but this other report, you better do it on a quarterly basis. This is why. We want these auditors to come in and make those recommendations, because these guys are the experts.
Yeah.
And, once we have all this hashed out and we have our processes and cadence set up, then it's easy, because now we have our process set up. It's 1, 2, 3. It's like, flipping burgers, just flip. It's easy. But the intricate part is finding that cadence. So hopefully it helps people out. And if you need some help with compliance or security, we work with a lot of different standards, CMMC, ISO, various types of ISOs, SOC 2, whatever have you. We can help you with that. And when you're doing business with an IT company, always ask for their SOC 2. Ask for their SOC 2 report. You will be surprised how many companies, and even some larger companies, who have no audits, no compliance, nothing. And nobody asks them for it. And that's why they're getting away with it, is because nobody asks. So ask your IT company to provide you with their SOC 2 report. At a minimum, what that will do is show you that the controls and processes these guys have in place are good and up to par. So everybody, with that, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.